Welcome back to the final game in our best of 5 series. These teams have gone blow for blow, trading games back and forth, and now there's only one last game to win to be the first team in the LCS 2020 Summer Finals. The loser today is going to have to face TSM next week for a chance to make it there. You'd love to lock it up right away.
A lot on the line. Most teams, want to avoid playing, want to be, getting the better seeding for Worlds, looking for better groups, and chasing that championship. Coming in from the upper bracket, of course, going to feel really, really nice for either one of the squads. FlyQuest got to be kicking themselves for not being able to close out that last game, but Tactical with a heroic performance. And guess what? First ban is going to be the Glizz. It's like, nope, not again, my friend.
Off the board right away. I'm curious how important Azir is in this draft, how important Evelynn is in the draft, because honestly, the start was pretty good. Caitlyn remains off the table. Taking a note from the other regions in the world, in LCK, in the LPL, in the LEC, the Caitlyn ban rate is 90% or higher, and the LCS was only 60, and TL says, you know what, let's rectify that one. Drop it off the board. Turtle's not going to play this one. Might go ahead and grab early Ashe, but now you're seeing Lee Sin dropped as well. But that still leaves Hecarim and it leaves Graves up as chance for Broxah.
They could ban out the Ashe if they're concerned about that. That would leave the Evelynn up too, as you are saying. There is a chance. Okay, so it's very interesting. I feel like you just immediately go Ashe then if you're FlyQuest here. With Senna banned out, that leads me to believe Team Liquid would be looking for a Jhin answer. And I think that's fine. But I would way rather have Tactical off of, a high DPS marksman, and such as the Ashe, put him onto the Jhin. It wasn't as effective last time. I'm honestly pretty surprised if they're going to prioritize the Graves above the Ashe, because I do think that would give a significant advantage to the bottom lane for either team. Unless you have something really sneaky that you want to try to answer it with, maybe you want to go towards, the Lucian in the bottom lane. We haven't been seeing it, though. We've really only been seeing Lucian actually in the solo lanes. Prior to the buffs for Lucian, we did see Doublelift have a winning Lucian game out of that bottom lane, but no one has gone back to it since then.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely an underutilized champion overall, but either way, wait to see what comes through. Of course, Jhin is viable. A lot of teams play Ezreal still, although I'm not a really big fan anymore.
I hate Ezreal,
yeah, I mean, I think there are actually a lot of stronger champions out there that you don't really want to go for that one. Maybe you go something even spicier like Kog'Maw, who's actually quite good. Azir gets grabbed for TL for the first time this series. Has been such a big statement champ for PowerOfEvil. Won 2 games on it. It was banned in Game 4, and now TL takes it away in Game 5.
I will also say that Graves, if you're gonna draft something like Jhin or Senna, Graves is a good pairing for it because it's a high DPS jungler that can help to make up for some of the deficiencies in your kit. The fact that you are more about the burst and less about the consistent damage can be helped out by Graves. So if there's a pairing to do it with, this does make sense. We obviously are going to be expecting something like the Orianna coming through from PowerOfEvil. I would like to just see him grab it right now. He has been so good on these scaling champions, but they are looking like they're going to prioritize the support, which does mean Team Liquid could throw some bans over towards PowerOfEvil, try to shut him down a little bit in that mid lane.
Yeah, I really do think there are a lot of viable champions that PoE can play. He's got such a very wide champion pool overall that I don't hate it overall. They said, no, we want to make sure IgNar is on playmaking. Once again, Ornn grabbed early on. We had Impact get himself a couple of kills thanks to a failed dive and then a jungle gank, but at the end of the day, was not able to do as much as Solo, who really took over on that set. I would not be surprised to see set picked up again for FlyQuest. I thought he was so good on it. He really brutalized that matchup. Wouldn't be shocked to see a ban here. We'll see if it comes through.
Yeah, I think it could be banned. I think Morgana's going to be banned for sure. I've been a little bit surprised about the kind of lack of attention to Morgana when it's been like great first round pick before it gets banned, but it's almost always getting banned out second round. Orianna going to be taken away, so that was kind of my concern for FlyQuest. As you say, PoE has a great champion pool, sure, but I do feel like this game has been so much about late game team fighting, and Orianna is one of the very best in that regard. Orianna, Azir, he can go towards things like Syndra. He has more aggressive picks like LeBlanc, but it's just not the same as far as the team fight threat and the consistent DPS.
Yeah, Tahm Kench ban, of course, not a bad CoreJJ champ by any means. He's excellent on it overall. As the analyst has mentioned, we might want to see Bard come through at some point, but it does leave Syndra as a viable option. With Tahm Kench gone, that may well be the second ban coming through. LeBlanc also an option here, but it kind of leads Assassini based on the champion pool. It says, okay, AP Kog'Maw, of course, also makes sense as an Azir counterpick, but it does mean that Syndra is up. It means Corki is up. There's a lot of good options for PowerOfEvil.
There are. Corki hasn't been seeing nearly as much play lately. I think a lot of people are seeming to have less confidence, it feels like, in the laning phase of these games. But you would be running this kind of triple marksman style. I think that's fine, but perhaps it makes things like Tabbies and even the Thornmail a little bit more effective in that way. If you want high damage, you can also go to something like a Cassio, but that does get outranged by the Azir pretty heavily, so it can be difficult to actually close the gap and get the damage out that you would like to do.
Hey, even though Tabby's, of course, armor is not great against Corki, it still affects auto attacks.
Exactly.
And, Bramble Vest and whatnot, he auto attacks you and still gets grievous wounds on. So, yes, you don't love armor against Corki. I wouldn't build Iceborne Gauntlet against him, but the on attack items certainly are effective. Volibear comes in as a great frontline tank option. There's the Syndra we expected.
I don't like Syndra.
Support. Really? Well, it's what I've been talking about. I know you don't super love it, but
I think it makes sense, as you said, with Orianna banned out, with Azir taken away. Like, it's a logical pick. But here is my issue. My issue is generally that when you have Ornn and Volibear already locked in, you can deal with Syndra's damage just by getting health. Right? Like, I actually don't think that Syndra has a lot of fun killing frontline. So generally speaking, if this is me playing the Ornn or the Volibear, I'm just stacking health and armor, and I'm just thinking that my health will be enough. Mordekaiser, I do think, helps to rectify that, so I do like that a bit as a combination. You can't really ignore magic damage completely when the Mordekaiser is also paired alongside that Syndra, because now it's double AP solo lanes as well as an AD threat from the marksman and the jungle. So I think as a full pairing that makes sense, and it does give you some early and mid game priority. But this isn't the kind of champion that really can just dominate, I think, in the same way that the Orianna can, by putting out all the damage and killing frontline and doing these same things. You're really going to be more reliant on the rest of the teammates to do that, and he's going to be looking more to kind of get access towards Jensen and Tactical.
All right, Bard is locked in as the final champion picked of this series. We're in the climactic Game 5, and Team Liquid finally bring Bard back out. They have a ton of teamfight engaged. They have a great backline in Azir and Ashe. On the FlyQuest side, it is a lot of CC as well, right? The pick potential is there with Syndra, with Thresh, with Jhin. The burst is there right afterwards. They've got 4 damage champions, but they are not all completely consistent teamfight damage dealers. Jhin does not do what Ashe does, Syndra does not do what Azir does, and neither do Mordekaiser or Graves, but it is spread out. If one dies, the other 3 can't pick up the slack. The percent health damage that Mordekaiser brings out says if you build health, that's fine. If you build armor, that's completely okay. It is going to help to force diversification in the itemization on the TL side. We'll see if it's going to be enough. Solo has been an absolutely outstanding carry threat, despite getting ganked a lot in the early game, falling behind 0-2. He was the bigger force overall in Game 4 on the set. He's now another damage champion here with the Mordekaiser. The ult can go ahead and break the Ornn ult so he can't stun more people. He can prevent smites from coming through to play the objective game. It's going to be an exciting game to watch.
I think so too. And as far as TL goes, this is the most TL comp they could ever go for, right?
Yes.
You essentially have 2 high damage dealers for your marksman, for your mid laner, a bunch of tanks in front of them to protect them. You play front to back 5v5. That is how TL got where they are. That is how they went on a 16-1 streak, playing this style, playing very few mistakes, and just waiting, sitting back, fighting at dragons, out team fighting their opponents. So they are fully in their comfort zone here. They have the playmaking for CoreJJ. I think that is something that a lot of people have been really looking forward to seeing. Obviously, he did have some playmakers drafted in this series, but anytime he is on that Bard, it is such a threat, especially for champions like Jhin. If you ever look for an ultimate, that's such an easy answer from the Bard to shut that down. And because you don't have a dash or anything like that, you're going to be largely reliant oftentimes on the Thresh Lantern to actually avoid any sort of Bard ultimate for the engage.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun to watch what IgNar can do on this Thresh, because he's been, I think, a big part of why FlyQuest are good. I do feel the entire team hits really well. I think there are a lot of excellent players overall, but IgNar getting back on a playmaker is a big deal. His hooks are good, his flanks are good, his flash flay, lantern and jungler has been outstanding. The man just does so much work for the FlyQuest squad, and so him back on Not Braum is certainly beneficial. Of course, CoreJJ does JJ does just as much, and so on the Bard, we're going to watch for those as well. And it really means we've got big threats and champions to watch for on every front here, right? Top lane can be very volatile. There's a lot of CC. There's a lot of gank setup if the junglers want to show up there. Azir and Syndra can obviously be huge game-turning champions as well. So down the line, exciting things to look at here. Every lane can be worth kind of dissecting and spending a lot of time on, because anyone can kind of take that game into their own hands.
I agree. And I think something else that's kind of an interesting wrinkle here is that TL is often a team that likes to sit back and give up early dragons and then contest at the third dragon when they're playing this style of competition. They want to get in their comfort zone, they want to scale up and then fight there. I think that style specifically becomes more difficult when you're playing against a Mordekaiser. Because if you give up those first 2 dragons, if FlyQuest get into that comfort zone and then you go to contest at that third dragon, your jungler gets Mord ulted and all of a sudden it's soul point for FlyQuest, that can be potentially series ending.
Well, we are on to the Rift for the series-ending game. It's game number 5 between FlyQuest and Team Liquid. Team Liquid off the back of their best regular season record ever. The #1 seed heading into playoffs after winning 4 championship titles in the last 5 splits are staring down the barrel, being knocked to the lower bracket by FlyQuest, who want to make it right back to their 2nd straight LCS final of a 3rd place regular season and a 2nd place finish in spring overall. See if they can do it here with champions on the Rift. Playing a fairly low-risk style, there is a deep ward from Impact that'll track some of the jungle starts of Santorin and figure out which side of the lane they're going to play to.
Should be a really exciting one. And honestly, not much surprising as far as the runes or starting setups here. Maybe the only thing that I would say atypical, and it kind of feels funny to say it, is actually the PowerOfEvil setup here with Electrocute. This used to be the standard a long time ago, but these days you see almost exclusively Phase Rush. And even when you're against champions such as the Volibear, Phase Rush can make ganks very non-threatening. You proc that, you just outrun him. But he is going to have higher burst potential. So you do threaten more of the 100-0 style of Syndra that you're always kind of worried about as an opponent to it. But your survivability, your ability to kind of dodge out from skill shots and things like that is much lower with this style.
Looks like both supports saving 1 stack for the 2nd wave here. IgNar's going to take a stun to the turret. That means Q's on cooldown, takes a little bit of damage, but trying to wave clear back and forth, fighting for level 2. Not the hugest power spike on all sides. You want to point out, right? Bard learned Q at level 1, right? He went for that stun, didn't put a bunch of health relics down for Jensen in the mid lane. He went for lane dominance, but at the end of the day, both bot lanes get level 2. No big hard dive happening, and it's going to be equal farm. Looks like 11 CS to 10.
Looking pretty comfortable down there. Jhin, fairly strong laner, and neither of these guys really going for a super lane dominant support, so I don't really see any big advantage on either side. I do think it's just mostly about the skill matchup here. Can you hit hooks as they do there?
CC chain, they're going to ignite him as well. There's the late play backwards. He's going to try to wait at the exhaust and doesn't quite do so. Health relic's picked up. He's going to be just fine. I like that layering, though. IgNar waits on the flay until after Turtle's W. That is the correct way to play his lane out. Don't make your teammate miss his skill shot. Do the easy setup. Big damage there, but Ignite was burned. Heal was burned on the other side as well. Summoner's down mostly. I guess it's 2 for 2 overall because Turtle burned his heal as well.
Oh, Santorin actually finding him. And there's no phase rush for Broxah, so he can actually get chased down here potentially.
Takes damage, goes in the brush, and says, if you want to face check this brush, I will stun you. You'll be hit by the storm, and we'll take this fight back if my bot lane moves over. But it is still damage dealt. It is recall forced out of Broxah, as both junglers will take their 5th camp now. Santorin looking to get bottom scuttle, which will definitely help the ability of his bot lane to play aggressively, and he can look for more of this soon.
And it should be double scope, honestly. You should just be able to run straight through mid lane, help PowerOfEvil push it out if he needs it. Doesn't look like he does, and you just go straight up to the top side. So that is the advantage that he is going to get, is double scuttle, which always feels so good in the early game as a jungler here. I wonder, thinking back to that 2v2, could they have committed forward to the all-in, if IgNar walked forward and actually took out both those health shrines while CoreJJ was CC'd? Because if he doesn't have that to retreat back to, maybe you have the damage to actually finish that off. But that's always one of those really scary moments to try to commit all the way forward to that, because if the Volibear is behind them, then you could just really look silly.
Yeah, because if you're just walking around lethal tempo Ashe, you are going to eventually die there. Aftershock times out, and she is just throwing 1.3 attacks per second at you, and it's not going to go very well. But now another fight in the top side as the jungler is coming. Solo getting some damage on an impact. Santorin's here, nearsighted, has to flash, doesn't know when the Q's going to come out. And that is a nice gank. Not a lot of time was spent out of Santorin. Has a temporary 1 camp lead, and that's going to feel good.
Yep, going to be feeling really good about that. A lot of it on the Graves is just about being efficient, being able to win any sort of jungle duel if you run into your opponent, taking camps consistently throughout. You can see that Broxah is going to move in, try to take back these Raptors, get a little something for Santorin showing on that top side. And this is important because you did lose double scuttle, and Broxah likely will be a bit behind as a result of that. So you take away as many of these camps as you can, and especially because Santorin is now going towards the top side, and Broxah left that little Raptor, it's going to delay the respawn on those Raptors for Santorin quite a lot.
Big deal there. We're going to see Graves run around his left side jungle, going for Wolves right now, and Broxah feeling comfortable for a very, very early take. And despite the fact there's not a lot of ward coverage for this one, you can see if botlane moves up, because his lane's there, but Hawkshot now covers it, says, okay, are you on this? Jensen pushes down, puts a ward, says, okay. Wolves are gone. We see him on Gromp. Good to know. This Drake is out.
Nicely done by TL. I was talking about their kind of tendency to sometimes give up on the early dragons, especially I thought that FlyQuest might have been able to do that if they could be having that bot lane pushing with the Syndra as well. They could collect some of those early dragons, then look to use the Mordekaiser to really secure a soul. Of course, with TL grabbing that first one, that is going to push back any potential of that very, very far into the game. So TL going to be feeling really comfortable with their ability now, having grabbed that first dragon to, even if they can't contest in his next couple, not really have any worries whatsoever. You can sit back with the Azir, with the Ornn, with the Ashe, and just scale up.
Pee-wee goes to the short trade, does not get Electrocute off. He's missing one cooldown to do so. Didn't want Jensen to hit him back, which would have been a lot more damage than, one auto and Electrocute worth. So correct to not overextend for that one. Either way, gets a bit of damage. Solo trading back and forth. Impact, though, up in farm. And that is with him having to lose his flash off of the very first gank that came through. So puts down the wave, up 6 CS, and of course he's been forging items. Solo gonna have to burn his TP before too long once he pushes this wave out.
I've got to say, Jensen's doing a really nice job in this lane. He's up 10 CS right now. There's one extra for PowerOfEvil to grab. But, I mean, look at PowerOfEvil's items, right? He's going for essentially the triple early game, the triple laning style of item. Yes, Dark Seal, theoretically, if you stack it up, can scale. But, I mean, you have the Doran's Ring, the Dark Seal, and the Corrupting. That's really about lane dominance. Jensen just went his Corrupting Potion straight towards the Nashers, so he's not really itemizing towards this lane whatsoever and is still winning. So I think that really does speak a lot about how well he's playing this out.
And really impressive stuff right there. Team looking up about 300 gold as a squad. Impact winning so far in topside as well. Solo going to get his own TP back in for the early haunting guys. That's the first spike you really want to see. That's going to feel pretty good. As, of course, the Abyssal Mask is coming through for Impact soon enough. Bot lane back and forth. Small farm lead of Turtle & Co. That's actually nicely done by them. But yeah. BF Sword recall was matched, even though there's a small farm lead right now. You got the items you wanted. Tactical is going for the Essence Reaver build, so more arrows there on him. Very preemptive Lantern, since Ashe Arrow is up for now. A nice shot, gets the cannon, and they'll wait for the wave to push in.
Yep. Not being pressured too heavily, and the kind of farm advantage that is down in this bottom lane for FlyQuest as they will have all these extra minions to pick up pretty much equalizes what's going on in the mid lane. And Jensen actually on this recall, we'll see if PowerOfEvil can actually reset this wave and erase a lot of that lead. But Jensen doing well. He's kind of gone for this middle ground. I feel like there's the most variance in Azir builds out of almost any champion. You have the most kind of lane focus, which is Comet plus Luden's Echo, and then you have the other end of the spectrum, which is kind of the lethal tempo, straight rush to Nashers, and then you have all these different middle grounds, like Jensen is going for Comet, which is kind of strong for laning, but then the Nashers, which is better for team fight. You have some people that will go lethal tempo and pick up a lost chapter and not complete it. There's all these different variations, which I always think is pretty cool to watch and to see a little bit into the thought process of these players.
Yeah, definitely interesting. Right now that we're seeing just Nash's Rush really across the board on these players, and in all the range matchups, it's been Comet. Regardless, bot is being pushed in now. Team Liquid looking for a bit more map control on this side of the map. Nothing to fight for, but it does allow them to make sure they control Tri-Bush, which they do. Shove down the wave, and yep, it's going to remain 10 CSD as we crest 9 minutes. The top side, he got kind of the same score going on here. In fact, with more to farm for Impact, he's going to feel comfortable. He builds the next component as the Negatron Cloak comes in, and he's got a Ruby Crystal. That's feeling pretty good as well. And Abyssal Mask is next in about 1,000 gold. Yep, it's trade though. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and generally speaking, Ornn can compete in the early levels against the Mordekaiser if you don't take really silly extended trades. As PowerOfEvil may find Jensen here.
Nice,
you're in
done.
trouble.
Big burst, nearly goes down, survives the ulti. And Broxah's down the front line. CoreJJ is coming around as well. They're going to stay alive. A couple of ultis gone. Jensen doesn't actually lose any cooldowns, just most of his health bar. And
look at all the potions he has, though. He had 2 biscuits and a full Corrupting Potion there. So he can actually heal pretty much all the way back up. He chugged all his biscuits. He's already taken 2 of those flash charges, so he's just going to stay. and with a little bit of healing from the Bard, he can get pretty much back to full, and they will fight.
Big hook on Volibear. CC chain finally ults out. Can they get the rest?
Oh!
That's going to be the Jhin snipe. They made it easy for him. Here you go, moving in a straight line. Take it there.
There's in a portal.
Solo and Impact doing battle. Ulti coming across. Impact wants the stun, finds it, buys some time, has to flash away from the Q.
Yeah, Broxah, I don't think he thought that through when he jumped into the portal, because that's a can't miss. There's no way you're going to miss that. There's Giant Bear flying through the magical portal. Lined himself up there for WildTurtle, and WildTurtle on a hunting trip here finds a Broxah as he gets hooked in, ignited straight into the box. Nice combo. The magical journeys dropped there for CoreJJ, and then look at it, right down, right in the butt. Broxah gets knocked down.
Yep.
That's gotta hurt.
Technically, I think CoreJJ should have delayed his pull. Said, okay, Voli, come on in. I'll come right behind you. That would have blocked the shot. So, rare misplay from the, I believe, reigning MVP. Actually, no, not from last split, but from before. Last year's Summer MVP. And now we're going to see what can happen here. 1,500 gold lead for FlyQuest. They are down the first Drake, and Broxah wants the second.
It looks like he's going to get it. We just don't even see FlyQuest making a move over. I'm honestly really surprised that they're the ones kind of sitting on the back foot as far as these Dragons do go. Team Liquid has been able to set up very well around this. You know, FlyQuest has not seemed to be interested in fighting for it. But it is surprising to see the team, you know, with the Syndra and the Graves and whatnot, being the ones who want to sit back and give up early Dragons to Azir Ornn, right? That I think is very concerning.
All right, 1,400 gold difference, but 2 Drakes makes it up. Infernal Soul is going to be the map, so goodbye to some of the brush. More avenues to walk around are now going to exist in this one. Brush traps can be really spicy and often very good things for Thresh, right? Lancing over walls, hooking from brush. I think it very slightly nerfs Thresh overall. We'll see if Infernal Soul can come through. If it happens, it's 20 minutes in the making on the FlyQuest side, or only 10 for Team Liquid. And hey, they wouldn't mind some burst. There's a couple of squishies that they could go for. Really only, I mean, really no one is going to be that tanky on the FlyQuest side. Thresh support, yeah, Aftershock's good, but without that, he's frail.
One of the things I always kind of find really nice, too, is that some of your low damage members can have their poke matter more. You know, all of a sudden, Ornn just hits you with the Q, and that Infernal Soul proc on top of that becomes a lot more annoying. A tank of Volibear drops an E on you, and all of a sudden that's pretty annoying, you know? These little pokes and prods from your opponents start to really add up.
First major item in the bot lane is completed by Turtle. He has Stormrazor done, whereas Tactical is on move speed and otherwise components. No CDR yet for the Ashe, and Turtle going to be a little bit scary as they are stacking up their gold incomes, moving around the map. Swifties in for IgNar, lets him move around the fights pretty well and maybe cut away the Volibear and the Ashe and whatnot. Nice sidestep. Tactical keeps safe, keeps the farm going. But still, we keep the 10 and actually more like 13 farm lead for Turtle in the bottom lane, so well done there.
Very nicely done. Up 2 waves. You're going to be pretty happy about that. But at the same time, there's just as good of an advantage, really, for Jensen over here in that mid lane. And potentially even more, depending on how much of this PowerOfEvil will pick up. We still have that Rift Herald over on Santorin, so we'll see what he can get done with this. I want to see him drop it, and it looks like it's going to be top here. They're trying to play away from the Bard, remember, because of this Bard interaction. Look at CoreJJ. He was actually anticipating this. He was already heading towards top. Unfortunately for him, he's going to be too late because it is rank 1 of that Bard ultimate. It's a very short range. He won't get here in time, but you can see that he was expecting it.
Yeah. I mean, that play was 10 seconds off, right?
That's some game sense.
That is some game sense. And to be fair, that is the turret with the least plates left. Only had 3 there. Solo will have a fairly hard time soloing the last plate.
Ooh,
he may have to wait. Yeah, well, it wasn't really intentional, but it was there. I mean, this is what happens when you're a solo laner. I mean, to be fair, his screen name was the Solo King. Like, he's like, look, I'm a top laner. I'm really good, in his mind back then. And he got better. To be clear, he got better. He was not as good as he is now.
Why are you blaming him in this anecdote?
Because I suck at going into tangents. Regardless, the man named himself after solo laning. It's impossible to not pun his mechanics and the moves he makes on the map.
All right. Thanks.
Anyway, he's a very good top laner.
Yep. Freak, ladies and gentlemen.
LCS Caliber caster, by the way.
All
Yikes.
right. On to the next point here. Down in the bottom lane. FlyQuest looking to continue this push, but not really much threat on that turret. You can see Bard clearing out some vision, always wants to maintain the threat from that Tri Brush. That's actually a pretty key point to keep swept of vision if you are playing Bard on red side, because you can always threaten the Bard portal over the wall with the jungler, where you just throw your ult over from that spot, and then you portal over the wall, and it's a pretty easy gank setup for any blue side duo lane that is pushing. So even just sweeping that out, his jungle wasn't there, but it adds threat that he could be, and it pretty much dissuades any sort of a push coming through from WildTurtle and IgNar. So I always like to see those little moves that can net you an advantage.
There we go. Wave getting knocked out pretty easily with PoE. WQ gets the whole cooldown down and knocks down the wave. Going to be answered here by Jensen. Top lane turret needs a swift breeze to be knocked down. 20 CSD in the top lane, and there's a swift breeze. Solo grabs Solo first turret gold. And it's going to be the move towards Dragon in about a minute. Huge, massive gold lead now on the top lane side. He is the gold winner of this game overall. Turtle up pretty solidly as well. And FlyQuest with nearly 3,000 can start to play for Drakes.
And now FlyQuest has the hope that all the work they did towards getting gold instead of objectives is going to pay off. They have 2 of the 3 richest. They almost had 3 of the 3. Now they do.
Now they do.
So this is one of those scenarios where you must win this fight, really, as FlyQuest. This is what you have built towards. You have built towards being in a stronger position and trying to crush Team Liquid at this point in the game and putting them so far behind in gold, delaying their chance at a rush towards Soul, and then you're hoping that is really going to pay off. And this is kind of the 2 school of thoughts at work around Dragon Soul. Everyone is going to play for Dragon Soul. It's just a matter of, do you invest your resources early instead of farming for gold, or do you wait and delay that to third Dragon as FlyQuest did?
Alive in 2 seconds. TP's come across. Rank 2 ultis on several members here. Ults all available. Summoners available on most. PoE without flash. And here comes the attempted play. Stun not going to land just yet, but it's being started. Santorin level 9. Same for Broxah. Near sight. Jump in the front line. Solo caught out by Tempered Fate. Flash used by Turtle to stay safe. Re-engage comes in. Shots over the wall. Impact the target. Easily shot. Easily killed. 2 snipes from the Canadian sniper. WildTurtle takes him down. Tanks on the board. Gets the money. And they get the Drake as well.
Nicely done. Not even close on that team fight. They did get the flashes, from that Bard ultimate. They got that one off of Turtle, but not able to amount to anything after that, as they really couldn't get any sort of presence in that river. They couldn't cut into FlyQuest and move through those corridors. So FlyQuest not only wins the team fight, takes the Dragon, they get a kill, and now they're going to turn this into another Rift Herald, which could be even more of a gold advantage. And no one's down to the bottom side to actually answer Solo, who could get a lot of damage down on this turret. He's building towards the Nashers. He has the Stinger, so the added attack speed does really help with that turret threat, but he's not going to go for it.
Okay, easily smited away, and this time around, it's FlyQuest time. They pretty much switched strategies, interestingly enough. It was so much in the first few games, FlyQuest stacking early Drakes, Team Liquid getting double Herald and trying to play around that. And this time around, FlyQuest were the ones getting double Herald and going for turret pressure. So far, so good. The gold lead, 3,500, looking to make that 4K once the Herald takes a turret down. It's working pretty well on the FlyQuest side. Solo really far ahead in his matchup. The CS difference is 30. This will answer back to mid-20s as his wave goes down. Tactical, more or less answered by WildTurtle. This is going to be a pretty easy Q bounce through the wave. Catches the farm. 14 CSD across the 80 carries. We'll see now as the mid-game moves around what's going to happen next. Barons up in 2 minutes. Not quickly killed, though, by either team.
And I do really like the build here from Solo going Nashers, because you may be relied upon to kill the frontliners off. And going Leandry's Nashers, that's really the best 2 items you can have to actually threaten Impact and Broxah as far as the consistent damage in these fights. It really is very, very powerful. Santorin is going lethality. It may just be a pit stop here for the additional vision control with this lethality item. I don't really want to see him go more than that, because you're likely going to be hitting frontline. But, nice try.
Nice try.
And there is the school of thought where it's like, okay, yeah, but you can throw your ult towards the backline. But generally speaking, I don't think that you have enough backline access as a Graves against double frontliners to really warrant going full lethality. So I wouldn't want to see him go any further than this.
I want to devil's advocate that point slightly. This is very optimistic thinking. But Solo is going to ult Impact or Broxah almost every single fight, and he's going to win that fight every time. He's the gold leader in the game. So you're kind of, in almost any fight where you're fighting on remotely your terms, you're against single frontline. And at that point, maybe that does work out, where you're like, look, we can just burn down Volibear together as a squad. I want to make sure Jensen dies. And through that lens, I like it a lot. Otherwise, yes, Cleaver very much helps Jhin deal damage. His armor pen often comes in fairly late, because he's almost always going Storm Razor, Rapid Fire Cannon, and IE third. So, once the Stone Plate and the the chance at Dead Man's Plate and things like that come through for Broxah, you're like, well, he's got 200 armor. I don't have armor pen yet. Like, Cleaver could be really good there, and you can see the Ruby Crystal. That could be Edge of Night, but it could well be Cleaver.
My guess is it's going to be Cleaver, and then it's pretty much moot point, because I have no problem with this first bit of lethality, especially just because this item is just so ridiculously strong for vision control, right? Even lethality be damned, it's a cheap item, it's very easy to complete alongside Warrior for a quick 2 items, and then especially as Graves, it's actually really difficult sometimes to clear out, the 4 hits on a pink ward, for example, so it allows you to clear those out very effectively and have essentially just an additional sweeper for your team, which is always going to be really, really valuable.
Yeah, the Graves' quality of life of not having to reload or press E to kill wards is actually a really big deal.
Yep.
It means a lot.
Very nice. So, on the other side, we see Jensen kind of just scaling up quietly. Has farmed very well. He's at 232 CS, and it's not even 21 minutes, so he is clearly farming very effectively. Is the farm leader in the game by about 20. And we'll get pushed back here, but working towards that Nasher is going to be a strong second item for him.
You may see Spellbinder come through for PoE as well. The move speed there in case you need to kite, but the burst of AP is going to be more than what Death Cap would give you at a second item. You're like, okay, I'm a very bursty champion. I want to all in using my ultimate. Let's pop Spellbinder. It's better than what Death Cap would have done. Let's go. And so it's really good for those specific scenarios. Slightly worse overall long-term wave clear if you don't hit breakpoints, but you can see, like, if this were, a bit more AP, yeah, that minion was dead, but he autos once and he's losing no time on the push.
Yeah. The other wrinkle with Spellbinder is it's honestly just a lot harder to use, and sometimes you see people either just using it early in the fight to try to get in range, and they don't get the full AP as it it trails off very quickly because it does kind of decay. Or honestly, a lot of times people just don't use it. They don't actually get it off at the proper times in the fight. So it does require you to be a lot better with it. The flat move speed I know is something that PowerOfEvil really likes about it, and I've heard him talk specifically about that flat move speed on it when compared to Death Cap. He's definitely a guy that likes to think about his own item builds.
Good damage, but here comes the Ornn engage. Could be 3-man stun. It's on the 2, though. IgNar forced to walk back. Burn stopwatch. Is there a re-engage? Is there a play? TP in for Mordekaiser right in the front lines. Ults in, and he's going to catch one. He's going to look for Broxah. Broxah flashes over the wall and wait for the magical journey. IgNar can flame out of it. How good is this play going to be? Can't get him just yet. Goes through. Finds CoreJJ. Flashes right back out, but Turtle's in danger. He's going to be attacked, but a 1-for-0 so far. Near sight stops damage from Jensen, and FlyQuest live with a 1-for-0, but IgNar has 5 health to his name. Impact forced to walk backwards. Health bar lead honestly is TL's, and Infernal Drake is alive. IgNar kills a ward and can really only play for Lanterns now as TL wants to do more.
Yeah, Jensen still has flash and ultimate as well. And with Turtle this low, it is pretty risky. He does have a little bit of lifesteal with his runes. His fleet and his heal is still up, so they're going to stay around. They're going to send IgNar back to base and try to just play this a little bit more slowly, see if they can get healed up and find a good angle to take this.
The scuttle's pretty big. It gives Turtle health and mana back. It lets them see what TL's doing the whole time. PowerOfEvil feels safe to do this. Santorin going to get his health back up, taking down the Raptor camp. And as IgNar has recalled and walked back with home guard buff as well as Swifties, he's going to be there. CoreJJ there as well. Ulti down for many. We just have Jensen and Tactical with theirs, and we have just the Graves on the other. Hard engage comes in. They have found PowerOfEvil, but the Lantern gets him to safety. IgNar is there for it. He's going to be okay, but now PoE is low. Ulti back up in 5 seconds, and that'll be the next big play. That'll be the attempt at a burst. You got to be careful. You get 2,500 health left on the Drake. Burning down, resetting, going back up, solo on the wings. Doesn't have ulti just yet, but Impact does in 5 seconds. The Ornn could signal a great team fight. Tactical very, very low. He's got to be respectful. Big damage on Ornn. When does Impact go in? Great smite comes through. Second Drake there for FlyQuest. Ornn comes across. They found 1 kill already. Here comes the re-engage. Impact is in the death realm, and that should be a fairly easy kill. Can they get the damage? Can he do it on Mordekaiser? That's going to be the pickup there, and a second kill comes through for WildTurtle. How can CoreJJ get out? He's got no way through. PoE brought in. They're going to wait for the stun. They find it here, and CoreJJ should lose his life. And FlyQuest get 4 for 1 in the team fight.
They nailed the smite too. Santorin able to take that away, and they are monstrously ahead now at this point, closing out on 7,000 gold at 23 minutes. This is an absurd lead here for FlyQuest as they play that out so patiently, able to find the re-engage. Solo's ultimate coming back up, PowerOfEvil teleporting back in. This is after such a long dance, back and forth, Tactical very low, and you can see him being pushed out of the fight really hurts their chances so much here. Over the wall, Solo finding a lot of damage. The ultimate was just barely not up for him. And then in comes the smite, nailed by Santorin. PoE back to base, immediately teleports in. Then Solo flashing over the wall as his ult comes back up. He locks up Impact, who is going to eventually get knocked down. Even with that flash to dodge the E, it just doesn't matter. There's nowhere for him to go. Woo. And really nicely played there, by FlyQuest. Able to chase down CoreJJ as well for the easy 4th kill. They are just out team-fighting Team Liquid, honestly, in this series. Overall, they have been better at those Dragon fights, and they are so far ahead now. Mikhail's, I love the buy here for IgNar. So much of the engage is going to come from that Ashe, as well as the Bard. This shuts down one of those options pretty easily without your carries having to spend their gold on it.
What an impressive run so far by FlyQuest. 2020 has been their year. They are poised to close this one out and make back-to-back finals. The chance at their first LCS trophy. The first kind of non-inaugural org, really. If you count Cloud9 joining the LCS at the end of 2013, there's really only been 4 orgs that have won the LCS. FlyQuest wants to be number 5. See if they can make this one work as they're knocking down waves in the mid lane. Next Drake spawns in 3 minutes. Baron's already up. Impact on a flank move. They see him, but he can still go for the Ornn. Santorin brought back around. Is in fact going for Cleaver, by the way. Zonia is coming soon for solo. He's got 30% CDR. Those ults going to be up a lot. Blue buff now fought over. So you can grab that. Here comes the engage. No stun for Ashe. Impact can't do much. QSS comes late. He can't go for anything else there. That's going to be a big stun on the 3. Out they go, though, with the Magical Journey. Blue buff, I believe, was claimed successfully by PowerOfEvil.
Yep, he's going to be able to get that. But really, there's not a pretty big fight over very little, right? That was all really for the blue buff. You'd think, oh, the Dragon, they're going to retreat back to that. It's not even up for 2 minutes. So a lot of fighting here on that blue side. Both teams wanting to contest for jungle vision. It's going to be pretty tough, though, for TL from this position. It'll be interesting to see if FlyQuest wants to set up around the Baron or if they're just going to continue waiting for the Dragons and try to stack towards that Soul, because yes, the individual Infernals don't mean as much as they have in the past, but Soul certainly means a lot. And when you do start stacking up 2, 3, 4 Infernals, that's a significant amount of additional AP and AD.
Especially right now. Jhin. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it feels pretty good. I think it scales additively with his passive. I could be wrong about that one, which means it's actually worse on Jhin than other marksmen.
Oh, I always thought it was multiplicative. Interesting.
Maybe it is. Sure I don't actually know for certain. So you know, put a page in that one. I know someone else on the internet knows, and
we'll check back.
Twitch chat will lie to you. Don't read Twitch chat, but you know, maybe Twitter's going to be okay about it. I'm sure there are also LCS analysts who know this stuff as well. I'm not much of a Jhin main, otherwise I would know more about that one. But we got the wave getting crushed down to the mid lane. WildTurtle going to feel comfortable now on his 3rd item. Cleaver soon enough for Santorin. Control wards in the entire inventory of FlyQuest. That beautiful run left-hand side. Look at those control wards. Everyone's got them. They're ready to play around this Baron. Drake's in a minute. Waves being cleared. 7,500 the gold lead. FlyQuest want to close out Game 5.
Turtle has been quietly having a really nice game for himself here, too. He's up significantly as far as the farm goes. He's gotten a lot of kills and tower gold. And generally speaking, when you're on this grouping of items, these 3 items for Jhin, one big crit on a squishy can just decide a fight. You know, you can walk up and 4th shot someone for 50-60% of their health if they're a squishy person. You know, if Ashe mispositions and you get that 4th shot rapid fire hit on him, you just die sometimes. It is honestly shocking how much damage you can do. And that combined with the backline access of a Graves ultimate or a Scatter the Weak can mean death.
Yeah, Jin's 4th auto attack as well as his ultimate have missing health damage attached to it. And essentially, yes, if Tactical's at half, he is dead to 4th auto crit. Just period. That is the number. He is dead if he's at roughly 2/3 to half. The ult is going to get him for about 40%. 30-40%, right around there, if it's the 4th shot of the ultimate. This is absurd damage, and Tactical must be afraid. Jensen's in a very similar boat. Not like he has any bonus armor either. Infernal Break is alive, and you can see TL playing top river, but it's littered with wards. There's really no chance for a TL Dragon or Baron sneak. Solo can take this by himself. Turtle helps because they're not doing anything. Wards litter the map. Scuttle litters the map. TL have gotten 2 Drakes and a kill all game. FlyQuest have given them nothing.
Yep, and I am very concerned at this point for how TL is even supposed to contest the Soul. Is Broxah even going to be able to get enough gold for QSS? I don't think he will, right? So, you know, as long as FlyQuest has a semi-decent team fight at that next Dragon, you just Mortal the Volibear, who's really weak, by the way. He's 5 levels behind your Mordekaiser, 3 levels behind the Graves, so it's not as though he has really any chance to fight his way out of that Mordekaiser ultimate. And without a QSS, he can't contest the smite. And even if he somehow comes out of that, he's still 3 levels down. So really everything is stacked in the favor of FlyQuest to secure that 4th straight Infernal and give themselves a clear avenue to victory.
Here we go. 4-minute countdown until Infernal Soul And we know TL almost certainly must fight over it. It is not literal GG if it's picked up. We have seen people take wins with Soul. We have seen people take losses against, or wins against it, I should say. But it's Team Liquid on the back foot a lot here. They're going to have to rely on heroics. Tactical might be able to finish Infinity Edge in time. That's an important spike. You've got Jensen kind of between buys, and this is Large Rod, and then a Blasting Wand, which I don't believe builds into a single item that I can think of. And
not with that, no, not together.
Yeah, I mean, those two pieces together aren't any recipe. So I think he bought it for stats. It was like, oh, there's no fight, never mind. Maybe trying to sidestep towards Void Staff, but you have to expect PowerOfEvil's Death Cap's going to be gone in time. In time for that fight. They're still playing on top side in case there is a Baron play to be had.
Yeah.
Fights over wards.
It's just really tough. I mean, you look at FlyQuest, all of them have 3 items, pretty much, or just not PowerOfEvil because he's a very expensive build, but he's going to have that 3 item for sure. And lots of people on TL are still, 2 in pieces. Impact is on 3, but it's, kind of a lot cheaper in that regard. So we'll see where they do end up. It would be big for them if they can get to some of those 3rd item completions before this next fight happens. But, critically, I just don't see how Broxah could scrape together 1,300 gold for a QSS. It really seems like there's no chance of that.
Well, he can certainly try, but it's not going to be easy. He's not earning a ton of gold. There's a lot of camps being poached. Yeah, exactly. Like, you need to earn about 300 gold per minute, between 250 and 300 to make it from nothing to QSS, 1,300 gold in the 5-minute span it takes for that Drake to spawn. And this isn't happening right now. He's not getting the money. And as the wave goes down, FlyQuest say, okay, we've got an efficient control. Let's start on Baron number 1. Let's start on this one. Let's get efficient control. Hey, Broxah, by the way, if you try to steal, Mord will ult you. Vision over the wall, shouldn't be a problem. Here comes the play. Here comes TP. Is there a miracle? Flash over. Tempered Fate buys some time, but this is easily burned down. This should be no problem. It's smited. It's no problem. Stun's not going to land on anything important. Solo's going to walk away. How about a re-engage, though? It's a knock-up, but no one's in range to help. Immunes the pullback, and look at that beautiful play. Solo flashes in to guarantee it. Broxah cannot steal. Baron picked up, and FlyQuest can easily reset and wear that buff on the road to Infernal Soul.
Just really nicely played, honestly, by FlyQuest, flashing him over. Why risk it on some sort of a timing with Broxah, ulting over the wall, unstoppable, maybe smiting it while he's still in the air or something like that. There's no reason to risk that. The Mordekaiser ultimate lasts so much longer than the Bard ult, so even with the delay there from CoreJJ, it really just doesn't matter unless Santorin has a significant miss-smite. So now with the added advantage of all of those stats from the Baron, which are multiplied by your triple Infernal, Death Cap is complete for PowerOfEvil, so they are insanely strong. Thankfully for TL, they did complete the Death Cap for Jensen. That got upgraded as well, so they have the Rapidon's Death Crown, they have the Molten Edge for Tactical, so those are some big completions for them.
Ooh, he still took the stun. He wanted to wait a Lantern, but the rest of the squad was coming, but they found a root. They found 1,000,000 damage, and Tactical can't heal through that one. 1 for 0 so far. Jensen gets big damage, but it's not big enough. And it's time for the chase down. Solo wants in for more, as 3 kills might be the target. QSS burn to get away from the root, and that means the Death Realm would signal a kill. This could be the game. This could be the series. This could be the match right now. And the LCS Finals and back-to-back splits for FlyQuest as they go towards that first trophy. 5 versus 3. We have seen this before, but this time around the carries are the ones who are dead. TL may not be able to muster a defense as FlyQuest knocks down turret after turret after turret, and the inhibitors follow suit right afterwards. 12,000 gold lead. Dragon spawns in 15 seconds, and FlyQuest say, you know what? We don't need the Nexus yet. Let's pad the scoreboard. Let's grab that neutral objective. Let's guarantee you have no way of coming back into this one.
Just not going to risk it at all, and that's the ultimate forced in retreat there from Broxah. Turtle could just hop right over to his team. They can't even contest this Infernal Soul. They could have potentially tried to go for mid lane for the end, but it might have been risky. And this way, they grab the Infernal Soul, they grab 2 of the inhibitors, they have Mordekaiser who can be answered by no one in a side lane, and they can send the rest of the people down to the bottom lane, look for a triple inhib with everything in their favor. FlyQuest are so incredibly close. It's hard to find the comeback for TL. It needs to be something incredible. It really feels like out of Jensen. A miraculous team fight from Azir may be the only way they could hold on in this game.
20 seconds left on the Baron buff means they might have to fall back here. FlyQuest got a lot out of the Red Bull Baron, 4,300 gold earned, and actually they're looking for some poke. They're looking to try to push TL off and say, we'd like to grab this, thank you very much. 230 damage on a Jensen, a pullback on Impact's not going to mean too much. As timer winds down, re-engage towards Solo. Death Realm's in with Broxah. No way out for the Volibear. Should be an easy fight at the very end of it all. Flash just dodges it. And now Celeste back off there. Bardol's going to reset, going to find WildTurtle. Stun in the back line. Goodbye to Jensen. Look for round 2 as Tactical cannot make his way out easily. 400 damage crit there. Barely stays alive, but here comes the rest of it. Here comes the push forward in the 5v4. Stun on the front line. Big damage, big death on an impact. And FlyQuest are going for broke. They're going to knock down the rest of these turrets. And again, a 5v3 to Siege. Looking for the roof, looking for the hooks, looking for the rest of it there. As Broxah is forced to run away, the turrets are gone. And how can you defend this? It's not going to happen. Turtles has welcome to the LCS, buddy. I'm going to knock you down. It's game over. The Nexus falls in FlyQuest. Takedown team looking to make it to the final.
Game over, series over. FlyQuest will be your first grand finalist of the LCS 2020 Summer Split here. What a performance from them. This team has grown so much as a 5-man squad, and really just what an incredible year from this organization overall coming into this league. You know, the FlyQuest brand has grown tremendously from TreeQuest to SeaQuest, finals in spring, finals in summer. They are so damn solid. They have really impressed me here today. It felt like beating TL at their own game. This Game 5 draft, I mean, say what you will about some of those other drafts with TL experimenting, trying different things. This was as much of a TL draft as you will ever see. FlyQuest took that on. They defeated them easily at their own game. They looked like the straight up better squad here today, and that really deserves a lot of recognition. And on the other hand here, TL, they went 5 games, and they almost did bring it back, but they're going to have to face TSM now to try to get a rematch at FlyQuest, and I think that's going to be such a spicy match. You know, Doublet versus his old team. Jensen, a lot of kind of, you know, strong words thrown the way of TSM. You know, the Bjergsen Jensen rivalry that feels like it's really heating up. That is going to be a banger series.
It's going to be a fun one. The loser of that series is stuck in the play-in stage at Worlds, and play-ins, honestly, pretty scary this year. There's not a lot of room to move around on that one, so that'll be fun to watch for. Regardless, I mean, incredibly exciting match. As you mentioned, full comfort for TL. I think 4 of the 5 players played their most played champion of the split. 4 out of the 5. Like, yep, I have more Ornn games than I have anything else. That's my pick. Same for Ashe, same down the line on Bard and everything else. And still, FlyQuest gave up 2 Drakes and a kill the entire game. They were 3 objectives from perfect gaming. Team Liquid in Game 5. 2020 is very clearly the year of FlyQuest, and what better way to cap it off than winning the LCS next weekend, waiting for who's good enough to face them again. So that's going to be that for our series win. We will have the NLSS giving our Bud Light breakdown right after the break. See you there.
Disappear, I'm your eraser. Aim the cut just like a razor. Murder business, we're my blazer. I got all the boys on me. I got all the lines on ring. Knocking dead, turning heads. I got all the eyes on me. Pretty face, 걸어 들어와. 유행 선두자. 원하지만 못 찾아나. 애가 찾아나. You like whoa, 달리 유도 go. 난 알지, I know. 준비해, cause I like the ball. 멈추지 않아. 말할래, 그게 like a bag. 그거 말고 bye. 믿어봐, 그만큼 크게. go high, 100% 덤비지 못해 죽여주잖아 나는 boss 간지 with the sauce 원하면 줄게 I'm doing damage when that's how I planned it I do what I want when I say 모든 날 따라해 난 끝내주잖아 To live on the edge of insane Coming at you like real, real wild Here to light it up, set the world on fire Gonna break rules and hearts and tools Cause that's what the I'm so bad. Only took a minute for me to get what you had. Sorry for the bad news, no it makes you sad. There for a minute, baby, you should pack your bags. Way that I look should be breaking the law. If I don't got it, I take what I want. My circle small like a round of applause. You know that I love the sound of applause. You know I mean everything that I say. When you see me come and get out of the way. Back in the sleigh, back in the sleigh. Back and I'm better and ready to stay. I'm doing damage when just how I planned it. I do what I want when I say. More the night that I hit and connect you to live on the edge of insane.
Welcome back to the LCS and the Bud Light breakdown as FlyQuest have taken the series 3-2 fashion over Team Liquid. They fought back after that fourth game that got ripped away from them right at the end. They kept it together mentally, and they drove it home in a dominant fifth game.
So composed out of them. We thought that would have been a tilter. A lot of teams would have definitely tilted off of losing that last game, but what can you say as a holistic view for FlyQuest? 2 finals in the same year from where they started in 2019 is just unbelievable.
And they're so well balanced. Like every single game, it feels like everyone is doing something so well. It's so hard to give them player of the games. It's so hard to give them player of the series because everyone steps up at different points. You have IgNar making huge plays with the Thresh landing hooks to set up picks, especially in the early game. Mid-game team fighting comes around. Solo's making plays. PoE's making plays. Turtle's sniping people out. You know, like everyone's doing such incredible plays over the course of the series. It's so hard to isolate a single player as why they're so good. Whereas other teams, you can usually be like, oh, that's the best player easily. I don't think you can say that at all about FlyQuest.
Yeah, and I think they also did a good job of kind of like diversifying their compositions at least. Like this series was such a slow scaler. I was so surprised to see FlyQuest even draft a team comp like this where it's full pick with the Jhin and the Syndra, and their goal is really like, you know, we want to get 1 kill and then kind of snowball off of that. And this game, or this series was just so long, and they always were decided by team fights. So for them to say like, we can play more aggressive than Team Liquid, we've been doing it all year, so we're going to pick a comp that needs to be fighting and can excel at these mid-game team fights and take the gold lead from there, I thought was pretty impressive as well.
Love to see a team call a shot like that and then actually follow up on it.
Yeah, go
little
ahead.
Fun fact for somebody that, as a recent Mordekaiser main, you cannot flash if you are inside the Death Realm and to take a Bard portal.
I mean,
I don't think
you
you
can
be a
flash,
main to
you're not
know
going to go where
that.
much.
Today I learned.
Uh,
Today I learned.
Yeah, and I think the point about mental resiliency is huge, too. I think they've really shown over the course of this playoff run that they are really, really good about staying in the series. The obviously heartbreaking game last time, but don't forget they also had that monstrous pause game against C9, which they recovered from. Like, this team is always showing that, you know, no matter how bad it's going to get, they're never going to be taken out of a series.
You know what's crazy, too, about FlyQuest? With this run and with how many games they played in the first playoffs in spring, they have by far the most games played out of any team in the year.
That's true.
It's not even close. They have
They're
more
they're officially the most practiced team in the LCS. No wonder they're the best.
There we go. Got to put in the reps.
I mean, it sets up for a very interesting remainder to the playoffs because, again, Crumbs, I'll point out that you were the one who called this series in favor of FlyQuest, but it indicates that these top 3 teams between FlyQuest, Team Liquid, and TSM, it's all going to be very close. This series could have easily gone the other way. Only one game did decide it. It wasn't like it was a quick 3-0. Mark?
And I think what's really exciting, too, is it's different playstyles a lot for these teams. Like the fact that TSM is red side, no Caitlyn, you know, carries top that they're playing compared to FlyQuest. You know, like, I'm really excited to see heading into next weekend, TL versus TSM, and see if anything will change in the drafts because of that.
TSM, I think, is a real contender, though. I do not want to put TSM as they might be in third place here because I felt like FlyQuest and TL were close because of a similar playstyle, but had the edge over FlyQuest. TSM is coming into this with a very different way of approaching the game. Very top-centric, carries in the jungle as well, weak bot side, not a lot of playmaking from the bot lane, just trying to survive. So that kind of difference in playstyle is cool to see if it can get to finals or even in semis against Team Liquid to show, all right, which of these 2 ways of playing the game comes out on top when they clash.
Yeah, talking about different styles, I think something that we kind of glossed over a bit was like Team Liquid's draft changed up so dramatically in this series. Like I'm definitely expecting to see, you know, Azir control mages every single game from them, and they pulled out the Akali and this like Jhin, Hecarim dive comp. I don't really remember them ever playing dive comp or this being their identity. So them branching out in a playoffs game where they do have a loss prevention basically built into their winners bracket, I think is a pretty good idea because going into international, yeah, they don't want to play the same style no matter what. They want to be able to be flexible. So I really appreciated that. And we got to see like, the Jensen Zillion as well, which honestly like wasn't super awe-inspiring this time. But I do like the direction they're taking. They're doing like the Kalista Thresh, like hard aggressive bot lane. They're doing like the Kog'Maw poke mid, sometimes like the Zillion. Like they have a lot more color that they showed this split.
Yeah, not necessarily awe-inspiring, but still did get that win, and his record on that champion is quite pretty. I think 11-1 now across the LCS, which is just disgusting. But I love that call-out. Perhaps some experimentation because these teams each did have a series to give, in a sense, before another opportunity to run back. This might be a rematch for finals, and I would love it. But, of course, TL will have to get through TSM first. We are going to hand it over to LaTigris, though, who's got an interview with WildTurtle in our Verizon post-game interview.
Thank you so much, Dash. Happy to hear from FlyQuest WildTurtle after this victory. Going into the grand finals of it all. But first things first, I got to address something with you because in past interviews from both sides, both teams thought that this was going to be a sweep in their favor, but we had a 3-2 series on our hands. Yeah, did your confidence ever waver leading up to the series or perhaps during it?
No, I thought we could have won all the games. Like, even the games we lost, it's pretty close, so.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of how close it was in the games that were lost, Game 4 was a pretty tough ending, some tactical play to dismantle what was looking like a FlyQuest game. How did you handle transitioning in that aspect, coming off of that Game 4 to get yourself ready for Game 5?
Honestly, I think all of us were pretty tilted after we lost in that fashion. Yeah, tactical kind of styled on us with the Zillion. And then after that, I think everyone just took a break. I think I was pretty mad too, but I was just like, drinking water, washing my face, chilling, coming back.
It's very hard against a team like Team Liquid to find those moments to chill, relax, and come back because they're very prone to punishing any mistakes that are put out on the table. Considering that FlyQuest's approach to this entire series, it felt like you were all making the proactive plays and trying to control the action. How much pressure does that put on you when trying to be proactive, knowing that Team Liquid is there to punish anything that goes wrong?
I mean, we don't really mind too much. I mean, you got to make plays to win the game. It's League of Legends,
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I'm talking to WildTurtle here, right? The man that was flashing forward for some plays that worked out really well for FlyQuest in this scenario. And when it comes to how FlyQuest has been performing recently, a lot have said that you've kind of turned it up ever since your return back into the roster. Do you think anything has kind of clicked into place for FlyQuest, or is this simply a reward for all of the hard work throughout the year?
I mean, we were finalists in spring, so I don't think it's that much of a surprise, I guess, to be here again. I think we just had to put in the work we put in for spring and try to run it back, and we kind of ran it back, so we're in the finals again.
Well, and you're the only team to be returning to the finals, being that Cloud9 have been eliminated, meaning that FlyQuest could potentially be the most consistent team in the LCS for 2020 with this return appearance. What does that mean to you and the organization to prove that this isn't just a fluke for FlyQuest? It's something that you have been achieving consistently.
Sequest, we're just out here, changing the environment, tree quest, doing it up, stuff like that.
Sequest, tree quest, all the same from FlyQuest, right?
Yeah, all the same. Yeah.
Thanks for stopping on by after that series.
Thank you. Peace.
There's no clipping the wings of FlyQuest in this scenario as they soar themselves into the grand finals, the first ones to do here in the LCS. Let's go ahead and continue to break this down in the Bud Light Breakdown.
Peace. Turtle's on his way to the finals. He's out of that interview.
He's like, let me out. I got to go celebrate.
It was a hard fought best of 5. Great to hear from him. I love the call out from Tigers, right? Back-to-back finals for this team. It does speak to the consistency of an organization that largely was never dominated the conversation around top team, right? They were always maybe right on the outside edge, Crumbs.
I actually just wanted to add the numbers of games that they've played that have allowed them to become that top team because they were really important in spring for Solo to be acclimated to the team. 18 regular season games, both splits, everybody does that, but 19 games in the first playoff, so more than the regular season. And now they've already played 14 this summer. So if they go to a best of 5, they would have played more playoff games than regular season this year.
Yeah, 33 plus 36, so 69 games so far is what they've played.
I didn't add them up. I haven't.
Damn, I did. Quick maths.
Not that good.
So 69 games what they played so far. They've got one more best of 5 ahead of them. Yeah, I wouldn't trust me either on that math, to be honest. I didn't double check it, but I think that's about right. Anyway.
Yeah, 69. Sure, let's go with it.
Anyway, as our teams continue to battle to the top, MasterCard is collaborating with the LCS once again to award lucky fans with some personalized experiences and some pretty cool merch. One winner will get to learn League with free from the comfort of their own homes, and 5 other participants will squad up with me for a Q&A session. Any player from the United States and Canada, except our friends in Quebec, can enter just by using your MasterCard in the League client to automatically be submitted to the raffle for our awesome prizes. Now, this contest goes until August 30th, which is today. So it's your last chance. Do not miss out if you want to have a chat. You guys got any questions for me? Any quick Q&A questions?
No.
I already have ample amount of time to talk to you over the course of the week. I don't need
That's
more.
true, Mark. What was your question, Krubs? Was it even a relevant question?
What if we win? Actually, no, it wasn't. You did, yeah.
What if you win? Did you save your MasterCard in the League client?
I do have a MasterCard.
Then you're not going to win if you haven't done it, Crumbs. So, all right, when we get off the air today, you go do that.
It is. It's connected. What else do I need to do, Dash?
Then you very well might win. No, there you go. That's all you needed to do, my friend.
But if I want to go to Quebec and compete from there?
Well, then you cannot. There it is. There. Well, I'm glad we've worked our way all the way back through the rules, Crumbs. You cannot enter from Quebec. Now, to net his team an important victory, PowerOfEvil, he stepped up in a big way today, earning his team player of the series.
Yeah, huge performance out of PoE, spamming the Azir, putting fear into Team Liquid with it. He had a number of huge engages as well. It was not just the sit back and poke at people Azir. Not afraid to get in there and shuffle and send people to their doom. And then, some adaptation over the course of the series, like Crumbs was saying, that they were willing to change it up, go for pick style comp and stuff like that. He was absolutely incredible. But like we said, all of FlyQuest, they're such a whole, complete team that everyone's playing well.
Yeah, it's very difficult to nail down someone in FlyQuest because they are just such a good, cohesive team when they actually start grouping up. But PowerOfEvil playing the Azir against Jensen, who I definitely value Jensen's laning phase over PowerOfEvil, but the fact that PoE was able to pick the Azir blind in a lot of these matches as a kind of a takeaway from Jensen, and the fact that it's just a power pick in the meta, and be able to perform well in lane. And then, like Mark said, so many sand scoops, so many engages that really turned the tides of the matches. Like, that really made him stand out as a player to me.
And I do want to give a special shout out to IgNar.
Yeah.
Won all 3 games on Thresh, which, I mean, when playoffs rolls around, this is what always happens. People drift back to playmaking champions, and Thresh is the king of supports.
And he was up against CoreJJ, MVP candidate. He actually was not outperformed at all by someone that a lot of people are identifying as the favorite for their MVP, and who was already a former MVP.
Exactly. One playmaker to another. It should be noted, as you mentioned, Crumbs, that vote was a 3-2 split, so just edged out towards PowerOfEvil. But this brings me back to the point you made earlier, Mark, about how it's almost impossible, game after game, when we watch FlyQuest play, to actually target an individual as the reason for their success.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at some of those engages by Solo, whether it's on the set or the Ornn, even the Mordekaiser being incredible. Santorin's obviously a beast. We've been hyping him so much all year long. Still had great games and setting up his team for success. Turtle himself as well, having a wide range of champions, busting out the Caitlyn, playing super well on that, drawing bans out of Team Liquid eventually. It was a really impressive series.
He got perma-banned on Senna.
That too.
There you have it. Just like that, we've arrived at our final week of the Summer Split. Let's take a look at the bracket and see what those 2 remaining matchups are. We got Team Liquid up against TSM next week on Saturday. Winner of that match will go up against FlyQuest in our final. So it could be a rematch of this very same series, or we get a new look with TSM fighting their way through the losers bracket, having lost the very first series of their postseason. What a run that would be.
Yeah, and a grudge match against Team Liquid, double lift. What's leaving TSM? You had Tactical coming in. You had coaching staff changes, all because of this disastrous spring split. And now here they both are, competing for a chance to get into the finals. And the loser will get kicked into the play-in stage of Worlds when that takes place. So they are still fighting for something in that match. It's not just trying to get into finals.
I love it. I love the new format. I love the excitement that comes along with it and all the stakes that are brought along as well. Congratulations to FlyQuest on your victory today. 3-2 fashion was beautiful and exciting to watch. That's going to do it for us here, though. Now, on behalf of myself, the casters, the entire remote broadcast crew, thank you for watching. We'll see you next week for the conclusion of our summer split. Good night.
Good night.